Emily moved quietly through the living room, a restless energy tugging at her in ways she couldn't quite articulate. The winter night in Vermont pressed against the windows, and the silence of the house felt heavier than usual. Upstairs, Daniel slept, exhausted from yet another long day at work, leaving her to host Ethan and Grace mostly on her own. They insisted it wasn't a burden, that they were just happy to reconnect after so many years. That Emily felt a strange flutter in her chest as she moved through the familiar space. She had known Ethan and Grace since high school, and their sudden return felt like the gentle unfolding of a memory she hadn't realized she missed. When they had knocked earlier, her heart had leapt unexpectedly, as though life had handed her a small, unseen gift. Now, sitting together with steaming cups of tea, the three of them drifted into conversations about things that mattered long before bills and obligations consumed her every day. Emily laughed more than she had in months, the sound slightly alien to her own ears, yet entirely liberating. Across from her, Ethan had grown taller, his calm, measured voice pulling her into the conversation, making her feel recognized. Grace, gentle as ever, shared stories that illuminated the room, countering the harsh December wind rattling against the windows. The fireplace crackled, a steady heartbeat of warmth, and Emily found herself wishing Daniel were awake to share the moment. Yet lately, he had been distant, fatigued, preoccupied, always retreating to sleep before the night could unfold. She believed him when he spoke of stress, yet a quiet suspicion lingered, a vague awareness of the spaces left unspoken between them. Ethan asked how she had been, and though it seemed like a simple question, its weight was heavier than words could carry. She answered lightly, "I'm fine," even as she knew he sensed the truth behind the brief reply. Her eyes darted occasionally toward the staircase, half expecting Daniel to join them, but she already knew he wouldn't. He hadn't stayed up for moments like this in so long, and the realization tugged at her, underscoring the loneliness she was careful to keep private. Grace leaned closer, recounting old school memories, the dances they had skipped, long summer drives, whimsical dreams of adventures across the country. For a fleeting moment, Emily felt 17 again, unburdened by marriage, work, and obligations, remembering dreams that had quietly faded over time. Ethan chuckled at the nostalgia, but his gaze carried something deeper, an understanding she couldn't name, and it stirred a subtle rhythm in her chest, one that was human rather than romantic. Sitting between them, Emily felt both comforted and cautious, aware of a connection that was both safe and dangerously intimate in its honesty. She wondered if Daniel would disapprove of her staying downstairs instead of joining him in bed, but then reminded herself he had long since retreated without asking about her day. Grace reached for another cookie, teasing Emily about her almost ceremonial hosting, and she smiled, warmed by the recognition of a simple effort. Ethan lifted his cup in a quiet toast, remarking on the pleasure of being back, and Emily felt a surge of warmth. She had missed them more than she realized and feared the evening would end too soon. Outside, the wind howled, yet inside the room, peace and laughter wove around her. She allowed herself the moment, even as a soft unease lingered. Why did she feel nervous? Why did she listen for Daniel's footsteps? Why did she feel compelled to hide her loneliness? She pushed the thoughts aside, focusing instead on the rare comfort of friendship, the feeling of being acknowledged without judgment. Ethan's voice drew her attention once more. "You seem different lately. Everything all right?" he asked, calm and measured, neither pressing nor intrusive. The concern in his tone struck a chord she hadn't realized she was waiting for. Grace sat beside her, eyes gentle yet knowing, the unspoken recognition comforting and unnerving all at once. Emily longed to articulate the void she had been carrying, the lonely nights, the quiet distance from Daniel, the weight of routine that had hollowed her home. Yet the words tangled in her throat, heavy with guilt and fear. "He's just tired," she murmured, hoping it sounded plausible. Ethan nodded, quietly, knowingly. Grace reached for her hand, a simple gesture that sent warmth through her, whispering, "It's okay to miss what used to be." Those words settled over her like a soft promise, acknowledging the humanity of her longing. Looking at Ethan, she felt the rare sensation of being fully seen, patient, and non-judgmental. The room seemed smaller, the past folding gently into the present, and her heart raced at the intimacy of recognition. Memories of teenage years, inseparable bonds that life had dismantled, resurfaced, blending with the bittersweet awareness that Daniel would never witness this reunion of souls. The sensation was at once comforting and tinged with guilt. Yet it reminded her of the capacity for connection she hadn't felt in years. Ethan leaned closer, recounting forgotten adventures and whispered dreams, while Emily laughed genuinely, a sound that felt like reclamation. Grace's gentle observations filled the silent spaces, cushioning her awareness of the voids at home. Conversation flowed with ease, a reminder of selfhood and authenticity that she hadn't realized she craved. Every glance, every small touch, every shared memory carried significance in a way that made her pulse stir. Daniel's sleeping presence upstairs was a constant reminder of boundaries. Yet she felt no impropriety, only the quiet human need to be seen, to be present with those who understood. Grace's subtle support and Ethan's steady attentiveness wrapped around her like a protective cloak. Tears pricked at her eyes, not from sorrow, but from release, a recognition that someone could witness her quietly, without expectation or judgment. The warmth of the fireplace, the soft music, and the shared stories formed a cocoon of intimacy, one that Emily had unconsciously been starving for. Laughter, conversation, the soft rhythm of the night, it all reminded her of who she had been. The self buried under years of obligations. Emily wanted to confess the loneliness she carried, the yearning for attention, the quiet ache of Daniel's absence in moments that mattered. Yet the words felt too heavy, too fragile. Instead, she settled into the space between Ethan and Grace, absorbing the unspoken understanding that was offered freely. Moving toward Grace, she smoothed the blanket over her knees and whispered a soft goodnight, feeling the grounding satisfaction of care and companionship. She was not judged, only seen, and in that she discovered the subtle thrill of belonging. Daniel's presence upstairs pressed upon her awareness, a reminder of the life she had built and the vows she had taken. Her emotions swirled: tenderness, longing, frustration, curiosity. Love could coexist with yearning, loyalty with self-discovery. The firelight painted shadows across Ethan's face, illuminating attentiveness and empathy in ways that drew her inward. Each glance, each carefully measured word carried weight. She didn't need to explain. She was understood. Standing by the fire, Emily absorbed the gentle power of the night, the quiet glow of music, firelight, and attentive companionship. It reminded her that intimacy was not just physical but profoundly emotional, a truth she had starved for. With every breath, she recognized the layered complexities of love, connection, and self-awareness. In the house's quiet, shielded from the winter's storm, Emily felt alive, remembered, and quietly hopeful. She could navigate her marriage, her responsibilities, and her desires with a new awareness of her own needs and the possibility of fulfillment beyond what she had previously accepted. As she ascended the staircase, steps measured and heart heavy yet light, she understood that life had shifted subtly, irrevocably. Daniel remained asleep, oblivious, but she carried within her the warmth of human connection, the thrill of being seen, and the fragile knowledge that she could honor both loyalty and self-discovery. Pausing at the top, she inhaled deeply, ready to return to the life she had built while quietly treasuring the revelation of the evening. She could be seen, understood, and alive even in ordinary moments. carrying both connection and fidelity into the day that awaited.